Alright, good morning YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Watching Outdoors with CraigDZ. First big job of the season coming up. Clearing a 1 acre lot. Got my buddy Mick here. Gonna have somebody else joining us today. Skid steer's loaded up. Got the grapple by MTL. Also have the regular bucket just in case we need it on here. I have a machine, I rent it. It's basically like a KX-80, double the size of mine. But we will get that loaded and ready to go. Stay tuned. Alright guys, here is my skid steer. So got to try out the grapple. Worked well. But yeah, let me kind of show you the job here, and I'll explain to you what happened. And you know, for people looking to start your own business or really do anything on your own, right? There's a learning curve, and this was really my second land clearing job, and yeah, didn't go as planned. So I mean, you can see, you know, everything is down. This was about an acre, maybe a little over an acre. I walked it out through Onyx X and tried to map it out, but a lot of water, a lot of clay, a lot of mud. The guy's gonna build a pond, but he has this nice, for pond at least, nice natural spring that comes out here. However, because of that, this area in the clay retains water, and once we started kind of popping stumps, even before that, I mean, it was already kind of wet. But a lot of pine. The pine trees, you know, again in the video, they don't look that big, but once you start cutting them, the mess they make and the amount of brush that they produce is nothing that I've run into before. Not to mention the guy you can see there in the background has a dozer, and so they played around with it. So was piles and things from them kind of pushing it. But I'm not gonna talk about price, but in the comments below, just kind of, so clearing it, kind of almost like logging, really. I mean, cutting all the trees, stacking brush, stacking logs, pulling stumps. You know, what would you have charged for this job? So I'll just start out by saying, so there's my skid steer. I had my excavator up here. I rented an excavator, which I showed kind of in the beginning. And then a buddy of mine also brought his smaller excavator, smaller than mine, up. So originally I bid this. I thought there was just gonna be me and my one buddy that helps me a lot. Just me and him working this job. Luckily, one of my newer acquaintances, friends I would call him at this point, he's like, hey, you want me to come up and give you a hand? I got nothing else going on. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. Like, let you run one of the equipment, I'll cut trees, and you know, my other buddy can run the skid steer. So about maybe an hour in, 30 minutes in, we broke the hydraulic line on the grapple. So that was issue number one. So basically for the rest of the time, the skid steer was pretty useless. So that's why I ended up bringing in my excavator, which I wasn't planning on. And then because of that, I mean, it's sloppy, it's soupy out there. Didn't really get stuck, but a lot of moving stuff around. I mean, overall, I'm not happy per se how it came out. You know, I lost money on the job, I'll say that. But, you know, just the look, it doesn't look the greatest. I mean, I'm not really sure what else I could have done other than stacked all the logs kind of in one pile. But again, the customer, he was going to take care of the brush himself. No, not sure if he's going to burn it or try and chip it or do something else. But the logs, I guess his cousin uses for firewood, so he wanted them stacked up there. You know, this was a trail kind of that went through the mountain, and then everything else that you see is trees that we've cleared. And I mean, you can tell by the piles. I mean, there's probably a good 30-40 cord, I would say, of logs here if you were to convert it to firewood. Most of it's pine, so it's not really anything good for heating. And then the brush piles are pretty big. I mean, if you were to fill a triaxle, I mean, I'm guessing just that pile right in front of us here, that's probably 2-3 loads of a triaxle, you know, probably 6, 7, 8 loads at least, not including the stumps. So yeah, I mean, just showing this. So I mean, this turned into a, you know, pretty big cluster for me. You know, I bid the job low, you know, just kind of based off my experience, and then doing some research online, you know, people talking, you know, average, you know, for an acre on different forums and stuff, like 3,000 to 7,000. Some of that was even like full clearing, like burning the brush and removing stumps and stuff. So I kind of priced it based off of that. I'm in the Northeast, and I mean it, I mean, so I mean, I guess 2 lessons learned here, right? Lesson 1, so I rented an 18,000 pound machine. It just wasn't big enough to get the job done. I need something at least 24,000 or 30,000, maybe even bigger than that. You know, videos and stuff that I had watched, right, they push the trees over, and that's kind of how I thought it was going to go. But as soon as we started through here, the bigger pines, which, I mean, I'll try and see, I mean, there's really nothing really too close by. Of course, like, you know, this back section, it's all hardwood, but then up on the hillside again, you can see the pines, and in the background you can see the pines, but they're pretty big. I mean, we walk over, I mean, these, you know, talking 18-inch, you know, they're not little 12-inch sticks like down south, so really couldn't push them over, which then meant we had to dig the stumps out, which added additional time, and then just the soup and slop just added to the difficulty, because you're slipping, you're sliding, you know, you're not tracking as fast as you normally would. So moving back and forth, again, not having the skid steer, you know, kind of swinging. At one point we had like a line of 3 excavators just kind of swinging logs back and forth to kind of move them. But yeah, overall, I mean, not happy how the job went. You know, I'm not really super happy on the finished product, but at this point, you know, like I said, I've lost money on the job. You know, if I bid it probably double what I bid, I maybe would have stayed a couple more hours and maybe tried to stack all the logs just in one big pile, nice and neat, just to make it look more open. But other than that, yeah, there's really not much more I don't think I could have done. There's no real grading that you could do, because it's just slop. Without a dozer, without going down probably, you know, 8-10 inches or more, you know, you weren't really going to hit dry soil that you could grade out, which I didn't include grading. That definitely wasn't in my contract. It was simply cutting and stacking, you know, pulling stumps and stacking them in a pile. So I mean, that's what I did. I mean, I think it came out okay, you know, for what it was supposed to be. Like I said, it's not the best work. You know, I'm a little disappointed because it's not really something I want to promote and use for advertising. Not something I'm going to post on Facebook and say, hey, check out, you know, this lot that I cleared. Give me a call if you want something similar, because it just does not look great. But I mean, you can just see, I mean, all through here just slop, mud, and I mean, that's the sad thing is, I mean, I got to haul the equipment back. You know, probably got 2-3 hours of cleaning between both machines of mine, pressure washing. We're getting snow, maybe 8 to 12 inches tonight, so thankfully, you know, buddies chipped in and kind of got me out of this mess that I was in, because I you know, I did it on the weekend. I thought I maybe would be done in one day, and I figured if not, you know, 2 days would be plenty. And 2 days with, you know, really 3 guys both days, 4 at some times. You know, end of day 1, you know, we had this little section, that corner wasn't done, and the back side, you can't really see it down the hill, wasn't done. You know, day 2, we had all the logs down on the back corner and in this corner, but we still had stumps, still had to move the logs, still had to clean up some brush. So it took you know, a couple nights after work, almost, you know, working into the dark. That's why the lights on the Kubota are on, because we, you know, literally we're running these things in the dark. So yeah, wasn't a lot of things. Like I said, it's a learning experience, and you know, I'll kind of take that with me. You know, you win some, you lose some. Same with bidding jobs, right? You can't win every job, but at the end of the day, you know, I did win it. I still want the customer to be happy, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, if I could get at least a review or something out of them, even though I lost money on the job, I would count that as a win. Other than the hose, which you can see here, we kind of looped it up front, but like it got pinched in the hydraulic cylinder right here. So I got a set of two made up. Once I get this back, I think I'm gonna maybe mount something onto the actual grapple itself, just to kind of tuck, like almost like a, you know, some type of clamp. We tried zip tying it, but they just break. But something will still leave a little bit of play when you move it, but will prevent it from sliding over and getting pinched again. Yeah, so I'm gonna load this up. Trailer, truck, everything like that pulled good. The only, you know, like I said, downside, I mean, if I had bid this job double, I'd be happy, you know, would have had plenty of extra cash in my pocket at the end of this job. Even if I had bid, say, $1,500 more, I mean, it wouldn't be terrible. I'd be walking away with a little money in my pocket. You know, it wouldn't be the best day, but, you know, again, as I said, being a business owner, this is stuff that you learn. And now if I go after another land clearing job, especially if it's wet, I'll charge more. If it's wooded, you know, like it is in front, I mean, that's basically the density that I was working with. I mean, there wasn't much room. I mean, like things I thought of, like, well, maybe if I brought my brush hog in, or the reaper kind of flail mower, could I have like just chewed up and mulched up all the little brush and shit and cut down on that? Maybe, but, you know, would it have made the job look any better? I don't think so. You know, the brush piles maybe would have been 15% smaller. It just, yeah. So you win some, you lose some. Nobody got hurt. Again, well, my buddy's machine, he lost a hydraulic line on his. It's an older Bobcat, but overall, I mean, you know, no machinery damage. My rental, again, so I rented it for one day, the bigger machine. Ended up switching that to a weekly rental, so that's kind of where one of my biggest losses were. And then fuel, I probably came in double what I had budgeted for, just because we were running 3 machines, or 4, you know, 3 machines is 4 on the final day, and yeah, just way more fuel than we thought, than I thought. So yeah, just lessons learned here. So we're gonna load up, get out of here before the snow comes in, and then reach out to the customer and just let them know I'm done. And, you know, if there's anything he needs in the future, if he needs a, you know, they're gonna come in again. My thoughts would be, you know, if they're gonna dig a pond, they're gonna come in with a big dozer and, you know, probably a D6. They're gonna come in with probably another excavator that's like, you know, a Cat 320 or something. It's gonna be, you know, 30,000 pound machine. And so any brush that's left, or stumps that maybe they want to use as part of their berm and bury, they'll be able to move way easier than me. So, I mean, I think for the price and, you know, kind of logging the property, we did that. And, you know, I think it came out okay. But it, you know, like I said, it definitely could have looked aesthetically better just with the conditions. It's kind of the best I could do. But yeah, post in the comments below what you would have charged. You know, anything you think I could have maybe done different. I mean, I could have obviously chipped the brush, stuff like that, but that wasn't in the price. We didn't discuss that. It was just stacking the brush, and he would deal with it on his own. So, you know, stacking things differently, you know, cutting the trees and waiting to do the stumps last, I don't know, that would have maybe made it less soupy. But again, the spring, and I can tell you, like, like day 1 or day 2, like there was water in spots that there weren't on day 1. So it literally like seeped up out of the ground. I feel like there's probably another spring, just not as big as the one that's flowing, you know, that's coming out of the mountain here. All right, I'll just show you. I mean, this is basically a KX-40. Luckily for me, this thing was all dinged up, dented up, which again was good for a rental. Like, look at that gash, and you know, this thing was bent up, and you know, just a lot of wear and tear that obviously wasn't from me. But taking, you know, newer equipment into the woods, just you know, definitely problematic. But yeah, I mean, I called them and just told them, like, listen, I mean, I'm in the woods, like, not much I can do. I don't have a water source to kind of clean this up. I'm not trying to be a scuzzer and, you know, just kind of give it back to them. So they just said kind of try and clean the tracks out a little bit, and so that's what I'm going to do now. Once I chain down the skid steer here, I'm just going to go through and clean it out. But yeah, I mean, look at my undercarriage here. I mean, completely covered in mud. I mean, no again, positive side, no broken windows, some scratches, no dents or anything that I'm aware of at this time. Maybe once I get the mud off, might see something, but everything performed well, so I can't really complain. So if you found this helpful, like, subscribe, share. Otherwise, I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.